Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington football team just made 3 selections, 1 in the 6th round and 2 in the 7th round so far. They have 1 more, so we're going to talk about those real quickly. So with the 240th pick in this year's draft, they selected Baylor defensive end / outside linebacker William Bradley King. We'll go through the list of who they drafted. They also just drafted Shaka Toney at 246. So back-to-back defensive ends, and then also they drafted in the 6th round Cameron Cheeseman as their long snapper. So I mean, it was a need. It does suck that they had to use a 6th round pick on a long snapper, but it was necessary because you do need a long snapper. But I'm just wondering if they could have gotten him in the 7th round or as a priority free agent. But you look at these two, we're mostly going to talk about William Bradley King and Shaka Toney. Pick 2 players that, at a position of need. We definitely needed some depth at the defensive line, especially off the edge. So, William Bradley King, super athletic, a theme amongst a lot of these Washington football team draft picks. And I'm not going to talk about Shaka Toney too much because just as I started recording, it got announced that they drafted him. So let's start with William Bradley King. Pretty athletic. You see his score right there, 9.18 out of 10. 40-yard dash, 4.79. That's pretty good. They don't have his bench press, but 35-inch vertical, pretty good. He's about 6'3", 252 pounds. That's a little bit small for a defensive end, so that's why I think he's more of an outside linebacker than a defensive end, but we will see. But I like him. Some information. So he spent his first 3 years at Arkansas State before joining Baylor as a grad student in 2020. So real quick, let's look through some of his stats. So this is William Bradley King, by the way. So he played defensive end his first few years. 5 sacks in 2018, 8.5 in 2019, and then dropped off with Baylor with only 3.5 sacks. But he was really, really good in the run game at Arkansas State. A lot of it, his game dropped off a little bit at Baylor, but that could have been due to a little bit increase of competition, but also the pandemic, the transition. Who knows how much playing time he was getting. But I like this pick because it does fill a position in need, and he was projected to go in the 6th round, and we got him in the 7th. So a good value pick right here. You guys can see some of the information on him right here. He did go play at the Senior Bowl, so we'll have some tape on him to talk about in a video. So let's just go through his overview. So he's a grad transfer who made the jump from the Sun Belt to the Big 12 with solid success. He's a high IQ defender who made it a priority from early in his career to sharpen his rush technique and create opportunities for himself. He is very bendy, which is obviously what you want in an edge rusher. So, I like the pick. Gotta, look into him a little bit more, watch some of that, Senior Bowl tape. We'll see more about him, and yeah, I'll make another video about him, but I think it's a solid pickup. We'll still see, though. We drafted 2 guys that are edge rushers / maybe an outside linebacker in William Bradley King, but still opens up the door to bring back our all-time leading sack leader in Ryan Kerrigan. I'm definitely still open to doing that because he would obviously be way better than these guys, at least initially. So now on to Shaka Toney. Like I said, don't know too much about him because he got drafted right as I hit record. So he's also pretty small, 6'2", 242 pounds. So he's classified as an edge rusher, but I don't know if he is going to be an edge rusher or if he's going to be, that outside linebacker. So some of his strengths: selected as a team captain his senior season, keeps his pads low when coming off the ball. Lateral movement is fluid and sudden. pretty slippery as a run defender. That's really good. Rangy with closing speed. So you guys can see some of that, other strengths right there. So his weaknesses, doesn't always play with optimal juice and energy, below average physicality, play strength will need work. So, a lot of things that we can, develop. We'll see though. Let's go look at some of his stats. He did play at Penn State and did not opt out this past season. So, 2020 had 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass defended. The year before had 6.5 sacks. So pretty consistent throughout, pretty much averaged like 5 sacks a season. So I like, adding depth to the defensive line, and we'll see if I think definitely one of them will make the roster, but I mean, it's definitely possible this year that some of our draft picks don't make the roster, and I'm not like singling anyone out, but just because obviously we have a first, a second, a third round pick, a fourth, and a fifth, but we got a 6th round pick and 3 7th round picks. So maybe one of them out of these two, maybe Shaka Toney or William Bradley King, could end up not making the roster. We'll see though. Some more info on Toney. Has the get off speed to rocket upfield. He needs to improve his countering skills and play with better power behind his rush. Plays with NFL level quickness and effort. He projects as a speed reliant sub package rusher. So I just read that from Dane Brugler's report or whatever. So, I like these picks. Don't really love the long snapper pick. I know it was a position of need, and I'm not going crazy about it. But I think, they traded up to get him. The only thing that was weird to me is they kind of traded up like 40 something picks before it actually happened. Like, I thought they could wait a little bit, see how, it's going before they end up trading, because Cameron Cheeseman actually wasn't the top long snapper in this class. There was another guy from Alabama that was rated higher, but I like the name, so we'll see how he ends up playing. And I think he will make the roster, and it sucks that Nick Sundberg is gone. He still hasn't been claimed, but he's gone, and that was mostly because he's getting up there in age, but also, he has an injury history, and they think maybe that'll continue to happen, and they don't want to, get a long snapper mid-season. So I don't know if I'll make a video on our last 7th round pick. That's probably coming up in a few minutes. If it's a running back or like a skill position, I might make one, probably just if it's a running back. I still would like them to draft a running back. But overall, guys, I think this is a solid draft class. We'll talk about it more later, but they got their, linebacker that Ron wanted. They got possible franchise tackle. They got some cornerback depth with, potential upside. They got a dynamic weapon on offense in Diami Brown, and then, some more pieces on defense and offense with Derek Forrest and John Bates. I'm going to have a bunch more videos breaking these picks down, and maybe even some undrafted free agent videos. Appreciate you guys coming on, watching the video, and peace. Subscribe if you guys are new.